ganglion area, whereby this is the end of the capillaries. So if your blood is thick, full of debris, full of impurities in a way, it will all sediment at the very end. That's why if you have all these dark rings around your toes is actually very dark color, it's not fresh blood look, it means that the blood is kind of thick. You can see that heart attack and stroke are the #1 killer in the world. And it also duped the silent killer. Is there anything we can do to prevent it? Is there any early signs that we can look into? That's why we're going to delve deeper into the earliest signs of cardiovascular disease, especially heart attack and stroke. Before we can understand the early symptoms of cardiovascular diseases, we first need to understand what is cardiovascular system, or better known as the blood circulation system. The main function of this system is to bring blood that's rich in oxygen and nutrients throughout the whole body, so all the organs in the body can benefit from it. So if any restriction or termination of blood supply to the organs, it will cause the organ to fail. So if it happens in the heart, then we will have heart attack. If it happens in the brain, we will have stroke. Simple as that. So when we're looking at the optimum level of blood circulation, we are looking at three major components of the cardiovascular system, which is our blood, the blood vessel, and the heart. The heart will pump the blood runs in the blood vessel throughout the whole body. So these three components is affected, then you will have cardiovascular disease. So basically what happens in cardiovascular diseases? To make it simple, just now we mentioned cardiovascular system is made of three main components, the blood vessel, and the heart. Just imagine the blood similar to the cars or vehicles on the road. The blood vessel will be like the road itself, whereby the vehicle travels. And lastly, the heart will be the traffic light that controls the traffic. So if everything runs smooth, just like car runs smooth on the road, it reaches its destination, there is a good traffic. But what happens when there is traffic jam? When traffic jam happens, it's very similar to cardiovascular diseases. What contributes to traffic jams? We can look into the first, the vehicles, the blood. It can be due to too many vehicles on the road or an accident happen. Just like our blood, having too much of cholesterol, blood clot, platelet in there, and increased blood viscosity. This is one of the contributor. Then second, road. What will happen to the road that cause traffic jam? It can be due to road closure or road maintenance, just similar to the blood vessel having plaque formation that narrow the blood vessel. These are the things that might happen. And in Malaysia, it's a very typical situation they will see. Okay, in Malaysia, we have this night market. We call it Pasar Malam. That once a week, the road will be transformed into a market. So maybe from morning till afternoon till evening around 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening, you can see that the whole road actually being transformed into market. You cannot even drive. The whole road is only for pedestrians. So this is we call night market in Malaysia. So the whole road meant for vehicles, in the end, nothing can travel. So this is something like plaque formation in the blood vessel, constricting the blood vessel and then preventing blood flow. Then lastly will be on the heart. Heart will be like easy. Traffic light, what happens? Faulty traffic lights. And without traffic lights, you can see that congestion is everywhere. So it's related to the heart muscle, not pumping, not constricting at the right or beat, and then this is what we call cardiomyopathy, like irregular heartbeat. So basically, it's very simple. If you can make sure the vehicles travel on the road and reach its destination safely, that is a very good traffic. For our blood circulation, if the blood can travel to the organs that requires oxygen and nutrients, that will be a perfect, optimum blood circulation. Anything that hampers that will cause cardiovascular diseases. Then, what are the things or what are the earliest symptoms we can monitor in order for us to prevent cardiovascular disease? Same thing happens here. We are looking at the three main components that we mentioned earlier on: the blood vessel, and the heart. So for the blood, it's very simple. Yes, the best way for us to monitor our blood viscosity is doing a blood test annually. From there, you can see the readings for cholesterol, for platelet count, to look at the blood viscosity, your ESR reading, everything you can see from there. But generally, for earlier signs, you can actually look on our physical body to look for signs and symptoms in a way. So what you can see, because blood travels in the blood vessel, we have three types of blood vessel. The biggest one will be arteries, then middle version will be veins, the smallest will be capillaries. Capillaries basically the thickness of the blood vessel is around 1 cell. So basically it's actually very, very thin. You can actually look through capillaries into the blood to see the condition of the blood. So basically, if you want to know how thick is your blood, the viscosity of your blood, you can actually look through capillaries. And where you can have capillaries? Throughout the extremities, especially our fingers and toes. And I do recommend you looking at your toes because due to gravity, the blood will bring everything, the blood clot, cholesterol, anything that is actually very sticky and in the blood will actually fall downwards due to gravity towards the end of your toes. So you can look at the end of the toes near the fingernail area, whereby this is the end of the capillaries. So if your blood is thick, full of debris, full of impurities in a way, it will all sediment at the very end. That's why if you have all these dark rings around your toes, those toes is actually very dark color, it's not fresh blood look, it means that the blood is kind of thick. Beside your toes, there's another area you can look into, basically your lips. Actually, your lips is actually quite thin, you can look through basically the blood conditions. So if your lips is not luscious, transparent, and then you see a lot of spots, maybe maroon, dark, brownish spots around here and there, and then dark lips in a way, then you have to be extra cautious. It might be an early sign that your blood is very dirty in a way. The blood viscosity is very high, and the chances of heart attack stroke also will go up with that too. These are some of the earliest signs. To monitor your blood, you can look at your lips and your toes, and you can do for a blood test to be sure. Then on your blood vessel, what other things you can do? Basically, we do recommend you doing your own blood pressure test. Okay, because blood vessel, how healthy it is, you can just look at the elasticity of the blood vessel, and then this will be represented in terms of your blood pressure readings. So we recommend you doing your own blood pressure check, preferably in the morning after you have rested at least 8 to 10 hours. When you wake up, go and pass urine first, then come back, do your blood pressure test. Every day about the same time, monitor your systolic and diastolic pressure and the heartbeat. From there, you will know how healthy is your blood pressure and how healthy is your blood vessel. Then besides that, anything else I can look for early signs besides just looking at the blood pressure? There are some signs, like I mentioned earlier on, when your blood vessel is dirty, maybe a plaque formation, blood is not flowing, there are some signs. Okay, the most common sign will be cramps. Have you experienced the leg cramp? Leg cramps? What happens when the leg cramp? You try to push, strengthen, lengthen it in a way, straighten it in a way. Why? Because blood is not flowing, you're having a cramp. Just imagine that cramp happens in your heart or in the brain. That will be heart attack and stroke. So cramps is basically blood not flowing in that particular area. So if you have it in your leg, having a lot of varicose veins, all these things, the chances of having stroke and heart attack also indirectly increase. Even though that is the earliest sign, it might not represent heart attack and stroke, but it shows that the blood circulation is not good. So when you're having a cramp, that means the blood circulation is not good. Your blood vessels might be obstructed or narrow in certain way. So besides that, frozen shoulders, stiff neck, all these things is another sign. Because when the blood vessel is stiff, hardened, the blood is not flowing, you have all this sensation of stiffness and then hardened in the way. So those who experience stiff neck, frozen shoulders, all these things, be extra careful. That might be a very early sign of heart attack and stroke. And then lastly, for our heart, what happens to our heart? Of course, you can go for a checkup like ECG, electrocardiogram, to check your heartbeat. You can even do the stress test to see how heart is functioning under stress. That will be good. You can do it yearly just for a checkup and to monitor your heart. And is there any other things you can monitor? How about the earliest signs that I can see or experience if my heart is not doing well? Basically, our heart is a very, very, we call it strong organs. That's why when we come to heart, we look at tenacity. Because our heart will continue pumping. Even though when you're sleeping at night, the heart's still pumping. As long as we are living, the heart is still pumping. That's the reason why heart muscle tenacity is very important. So when the heart is pumping, usually you don't feel it. Just like my heart is pumping right now. I know it's pumping, but I don't feel anything. Yes, so it's very silently pumping, vigorously pumping, and only you notice your heartbeat when you are exerting yourself, like when you're doing exercise, when you're in a very stressful condition, you will notice your heartbeat. So when your heart's not healthy, you will notice your heartbeat even when you are resting. For example, you are sleeping at night, you are resting, listening to very soothing music. Suddenly you notice your heart is beating or you notice your own heartbeat, that might be an early sign that your heart is not doing well. Because when the heart is beating, normally we don't feel it. But during resting time, when you're relaxed or you're listening to some soothing music, you shouldn't be noticing your heartbeat. Okay, so just to be sure that you have heartbeat, you can actually use your right palm, put it on the left chest, and then you will notice the beat there. But once you remove it, usually you don't feel it. Okay, especially when you're resting or when you go up the stairs. Of course, if you go few level up, of course you notice your heartbeat will increase. But just few steps, you start to feel the palpitation is there. Or then there may be another sign that your heart is not doing that well. Okay, so it's very important that we look into all these earlier symptoms of heart attack and stroke. It might not 100% be heart attack and stroke, but you can pay attention to it. I repeat that again. For our blood, you can actually look at our lips or toes to see any dark rings and then blood clots, brownish maroon color of blood clots in the blood. Because blood, we're looking at viscosity. The higher the viscosity, the chances of heart attack and stroke is higher. So how can you be sure? You can actually go for a blood test annually. Second, we look at the blood vessel. Blood vessel is all about elasticity. Okay, the constriction, expansion of the blood vessel, is it elastic? So this one we can look into signs and symptoms like cramps and stiff neck and shoulder. So if you have that, it's not a good sign. Then how do you can be a bit more sure about your blood vessel? You can do blood pressure tests daily. And then lastly, for a heart is on tenacity, how your muscle continues pumping and not letting go. When it doesn't pump, the whole heart will stop and the life will stop at the same time too. So how do we know? So usually when the heart is pumping, okay, we do not feel the sensation, especially we at rest. So when you're nighttime, you're resting, when sleeping, or you're in a very soothing situation, environment, you shouldn't be noticing your heartbeat. Okay, when there's a heartbeat there, you notice it's bumping, it's a bit fast, a bit of palpitation, it's not a good sign. Especially when you go up staircase, 1-2 steps, you already notice the heartbeat is very obvious. Then you can go for a ECG check or a stress test, treadmill test to ensure that your heart is beating at optimum level. Okay, so today I will share with you all the 3 earliest signs that you can look into, the 3 components, the blood vessel, and the heart. If you notice this video has been helping you in certain way, do share it out with your friends and relatives. You might be helping them at the same time too. So do like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell for this channel for future videos similar to this. Meanwhile, do watch the next video on how to correctly interpret cholesterol reading from the blood test report. Till the next video, take care and all the best.